All right. Good morning, everybody. Todd Kolb, PJ teaching professional, director of instruction for US Golf TV and vertical line swing. So first of all, today we're going to be talking about how to improve contact with your irons. And I got three specific things that I want to dive into today that I think are really going to help you. You know what it's like when you hit that flush shot, when you hit the ball and then you hit the ground, and you can almost feel it literally go all the way from the club face all the way up the shaft, through your arms, and into your soul. It's one of the reasons we love golf. But before we get started, we always like to take about 30 to 60 seconds here, let people start jumping on. We got a ton of people start jumping on. Of course, give us a thumbs up. How's the video? How's the audio? Can you hear me okay? Can you see us okay? Because this is live, and we want to make sure that we're able to communicate with you correctly. And you know our favorite question. We love hearing where you're from. We love hearing where you're from. So be sure to put that in the chat also. Let us know where you're from. So we're waiting for, all right, here we go. Good. Thank you, Larry. Larry says loud and clear. Larry, where are you from? Throw that in the chat right now. There we got Jacob jumping on. We got Tampa, Florida. Jacob, if I was in Tampa right now, and I looked out the window, what would I see? What would I see? Tell us what we would see, because right now here, it's springtime. We're starting to have some decent weather, but it's still pretty chilly out there. I got my main man, Nick, behind the camera. Nick, give him a thumbs up. Everybody loves seeing the thumbs. There it is. This guy's got the most famous damn thumb on the internet, I think. Huh?
This is my live thumb.
There he is. That's his live thumb. We love having Nick here. He makes all the magic happen behind the scenes, pulls it all together. Of course, we got Jordy on our team. We got JT on our team. Look at this. We got people, Nick, look at this. We got people jumping on. We got Texas, Florida, Ohio, California, Georgia. Fantastic. UK, we love our friends from overseas. Jacob says it's a beautiful day. 70 degrees, light wind, feels great. It sounds like, Nick, we need to go to down there and see our friend down there to Tampa and do a live session there. All right, so here's what we got cooking. Let's get into this today because we appreciate you coming here. VLS Golf, the vertical line swing, US Golf TV. Today I'm going to give you three specific things that we can do to help us improve our contact. And when we were talking about this, a particular student came to mind. Gary's one of our students. We worked with Gary a couple months ago, and newly retired, was really struggling with his contact. And there was a specific drill that we did that I'm going to share with you a little bit later. So this point that we want to be talking about here today in terms of contact that you can apply to all irons. And last week we talked a lot about improving contact with fairway woods and hybrids and things like that. So what we're talking about is how do we improve the contact. Now, let's first of all dive into what do we want. When we're hitting an iron, okay, when we're hitting an iron, we know that with an iron, we want to come in contact with the ball and then the ground, right? If here's the ball, right, I want the club head coming in contact with the ball and then the ground. That's what takes a divot. So we want what we call the low point. Let's go through a couple things here. The low point. The low point is where the club hits the ground, right? When I swing this club back and through, okay, when I swing this club back and through, there's a low point. There's a point where the club hits the ground. The club is traveling down, it bottoms out, i.e. low point, and then it starts traveling up. And the objective here is to connect with the ball and then the ground. So the low point, okay, needs to be somewhere in front of the golf ball. Okay, so I got two drills I'm going to share with you here today. One of them I just came across last night. I don't know if any of you out there have followed the stack and tilt stuff. Okay, stack and tilt. These guys, the two guys who came up with that, are smart guys, and they are great coaches. And I want to share a drill that I noticed that they were doing the other night to help us with that. So let's get right into this. We're talking about contact with irons. Of course, we love hearing where we're from. Look, we got Minnesota. We love our friends from Minnesota, South Carolina, Georgia, people from all over. So, and start throwing your questions also in the chat. Start throwing your questions. Nick's behind there. He's jotting these questions down, and we're going to get to those. All right, so here we go. Number 3, and this is part of the book, The Bad Lie. Part of the book in The Bad Lies, chapter 7, is ball position. Let's talk about ball position. This is the most obvious one that could keep you from making good contact with your irons. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, really? Ball position, Todd? I spend a half hour of my day to talk about ball position? Yes. Because getting the ball in the right spot is the easiest and simplest way to improve your contact if it's in the wrong spot. So let's talk about it. So here we go. Let's grab an alignment rod. And one of the things that you should do, if you haven't already, okay, is you should have an alignment rod. You should have an alignment rod in your bag, at least one of them, because you can use it for multiple things. All right, so let's talk about ball position with irons. So I'm just going to put the alignment rod here on the ground, try to square it up with the camera there. I'm going to put the ball right there. Now, we know that when we're hitting an iron, we want to come in contact with the ball and then the ground. So we want that low point. Remember we talked about low point. Low point is where the club hits the ground. We want that low point to be slightly in front of the golf ball. So when you're hitting an iron, I want you to position the ball somewhere between where the buttons are your shirt, buttons on your shirt, and the logo on this golf shirt. Now, I'm going to just brag just a second. Look at this cool logo right here. There it is. There we go. The Masters. The team went down to the Masters a couple weeks ago. We had a great time. If you're a golfer and you're ever presented with the opportunity to go to the Masters, do it. Spend the money and go. I promise you, it's going to cost you some money, but you will never regret it. It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So here we go. Ball position. We want that ball to be positioned somewhere between where the buttons on my golf shirt would be and the logo, i.e. Augusta National, right there. So how do you find that? What we're going to do is we're going to put our feet together, okay? And I'm just going to take a step towards the target, and I'm going to take a step away from the target, okay? So here we go. Let's do it again. Feet together, ball in the center, step towards the target, step away from the target. Now, how much should I step towards the target? How much should I step away from the target? Basically this. Let's just use numbers. These aren't exact numbers, okay? These aren't like 5 and 4 inches. I mean, we're just giving you numbers for reference points. So I'm right here. I step towards the target, let's say 4 inches. Okay? Sake of discussion. I step away 5 inches. Everybody with me? So together, 4 towards, 5 away. The point being is that the step away from the target is ever so slightly longer than the step towards the target. That will position the ball somewhere between the buttons on your golf shirt and the logo on your shirt. Okay? Is that making sense? Give me a thumbs up if that's making sense. And for those of you who are just getting here, New York, we got people from everywhere. For those of you who are just getting here, okay, tell us where you're from. We love hearing where you're from. And also, what is it that you want us to be talking about here today? So number 3, chapter 7 in the book, The Bad Lie, is ball position. We go really deep into that. So with an iron, feet together, okay, step towards and step away. Everybody with me on that? Hope that good. We're getting some thumbs up. Thank you out there. We're getting some thumbs up. I appreciate that. Fantastic. All right, number two in this, okay, and this is chapter 10 of the book, okay, is swing direction. Swing direction. We're going to go a little deep on this. We're going to go a little bit deep on this, okay? We're going to talk about swing direction. We talked about this briefly last week when we did hybrids and fairway woods, right? Okay, so swing direction. So first of all, what is swing direction? So we're going to do these down the line. Swing direction is the direction that the lead arm, as we define it, the direction that the lead arm and the club shaft are traveling. So the club, my lead arm and the club could be traveling to the right. Okay, everybody see that? They could be traveling towards the target. You can see that. Or they could be traveling to the left of the target. Those are the 3 options, right? Let's go through them again, and then I'm going to give you a golden nugget. So get the notepad out, get the pen out, the pencil out, whatever you're doing. If you're high tech, you put it on your phone, doesn't matter. I'm going to give you a golden nugget here in just a second. So the club shaft and the arm can be traveling to the right. They can be traveling towards the target. They could be traveling to the left of the target. All right, now, here's what you need to know. This is the golden nugget. Write this down. All things being equal, when the club, for a right-handed golfer, when the shaft and the arm are traveling to the right, very extreme, the bottom of the swing, remember the bottom of the swing, i.e. low point, moves backwards. Moves back toward, let me demonstrate this way. When my arms swing really hard to the right, for a right-handed golfer, the bottom of the swing, see where it hits the ground? Behind me. Okay, everybody with me on that? When my arms swing and the club swing very hard to the left, the bottom of the swing goes forward. So when my lead arm and the club swing very hard to the left, the bottom of the swing goes forward, i.e. where I hit the ground. And of course, as you know here, right? If I swing it at the target, pretty much goes in the middle. Okay, so let's think about that for a second. You just learned something there. Hopefully you wrote that down. When the swing direction for a right-handed golfer, because the reason I'm kind of harping on this with us here today and we're learning is because this applies for all shots. We're talking about irons, but it's the same way with your driver. It's the same way with your hybrid. It's the same way with chipping. If you shank your chip shots, I hate even saying that word. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. If you shank your chip shots, okay, if you shank your chip shots, the first place you should look is the direction you're swinging the club. Odds are you're probably swinging it too in to out, and you're hitting behind it, and therefore you're exposing the heel and you're shanking it. Okay? Let me complete that, because for those of you who are shanking, I don't want to leave you hanging, right? So if you're shanking your chip shots, here's what I want you to do. I'm getting a little bit off topic. I know Nick's like, Todd, stay on task over here. But this is important. If you're shanking your chip shots, get closer to the golf ball. See that? More prone to shanking chip shots, less prone to shanking chip shots. More prone to shanking chip shots, less prone. Okay, so back to the topic. The direction that we swing the club, we dive deep on this, okay, in chapter 10 of the book. And this is the whole premise of the vertical line swing. For those of you who are following the vertical line swing, the body-friendly swing, for us experienced golfers, you know that we like to see the lead arm go straight back and the lead arm go more up. And remember those famous 8 words that you've been learning over the course of our training and our lessons and our conversations here. Those 8 words. Who remembers them? If you remember them, put them in the chat. Put them in the chat. Maybe Nick will give you something for free, because we've been talking about what are those 8 words that describe the golf swing. Put it in the chat. So you know in the vertical line swing, we like to see the lead arm go back, and we like to see the lead arm go up. Back and up. Okay, if you're struggling with contact, okay, it very well could be because your lead arm is working inside and low, and therefore the bottom of your swing is too far backwards, this way. Okay, you want the lead arm to work straight back, and you want the lead arm to work up. And that will help you what? Remember what we learned? That will help you move the bottom of your swing forward. Okay, so how can you practice that? Let me give you a couple drills. The first drill, we've talked about this one numerous times. The first drill is just to grip it in your lead hand. Stay in your golf posture. Got my golf posture here, right? Lift your lead arm to about where the buttons are on your shirt. Boom, see that? And then just turn. Boom. There it is. Lift, turn. See that? That's the spot we want the lead arm. When the lead arm is here, it's going to swing more down the line, okay, and towards the target, which will move the low point forward. Okay? All right, everybody got that? So let's review what we've learned here, because we're going deep into this. If you want more explanation on it, you're like, gosh, I don't know if I got that. Go to chapter 10 of the book, Swing Direction. We talk about that. So here's what we've learned. The direction that you swing the club has a huge impact on where it hits the ground. And where the club hits the ground is what we call low point, right? That's what we call a low point. And we know that when we hit an iron, we want the low point where the club hits the ground to be in front of the golf ball. So if I swing as a right-handed golfer, if I swing my arms and club way to the right, that moves the bottom of the swing backwards. If I swing it at the target, it goes more forward. If I swing it left of the target, it goes in front. So the first drill would be that one. Here's the second drill that you can do. Okay, and this goes back to Gary. Gary was really struggling with his contact. He had no length to his backswing. Okay, he's a retired guy, was in finance, retired, finally got a chance to start playing some golf, loves the game. We're working on this. It's a beautiful day, and he's just not hitting good shots. But once we got his lead arm direction in a better spot, he got length to his swing. And his contact improvement. So here's the drill that we did with him. All I did is I just said, hey, Gary, next time you're at home, just go ahead and put your butt up against the wall. So see, I'm just kind of, I'm up against the wall. Maybe I'm like an inch or so away from the wall. And just go ahead and make swings back and up. Now, don't do this in the living room where your significant other is going to get mad at you because you're putting dents in the wall or you're banging lights. Maybe do it in the garage, right? But just kind of see, I'm back up against the wall, maybe about a fist away from the wall, and I'm just going to swing it up. Okay? Everybody see that? That's pretty simple, right? If I start swinging my lead arm in, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to have to repaint my wall. but I would just bang into the wall. All right? So that's number 2 is lead arm direction. And that's kind of how it ties. We went a little bit deep on that. Now, be sure to start throwing your questions in there. If you're just getting here, we're talking about ways to improve contact with our irons. We talked about ball position, chapter 7 of the book. We just talked about swing direction, okay, chapter 10 of the book. And I gave you a drill against the wall. And also start throwing some questions in there. I see Nick writing some down. Get us some questions that we can get into. I got one more drill I'm going to share with you in just a second. Now, number 1 and the most important thing when it comes to improving contact is weight shift. Weight shift. Okay? Weight shift. Okay? Weight goes to my trail foot. Weight goes to my lead foot. Okay? And you know, if you've been following the system here, that there's 3 power sources. Okay? We talk about this in the book. I hate to keep talking about the book, but we cover all this in the book. So maybe Nick can throw that in there at some point. Throw it in the chat, Nick, where they can get the book. Matter of fact, here's what I'll do for you. Nick's going to throw it in the chat. But if you come in and you follow us on Instagram, okay, at US Golf TV, okay, or on Twitter, US Golf TV, and you send me a direct message, hey, I watched the video on contact, I'll send you a free copy. I'll send you a free copy of the book. I'll even go ahead and sign it. I'll do that for 10 people. We'll do that for 10 people. Or Nick just put in the link if you just want to go ahead and buy one. You're not into social media and you want to get the book. So weight shift, okay, is one of the ways that we create speed and power. There's 3 of them. There's lateral, side to side. There's rotations. And there's verticals. We talk about all that in the book. Those are the 3 power sources. But weight shift has a huge impact on where the club hits the ground, right? If I start with my 60-40, right? We love the 60-40. We got a little bit more weight on the lead foot than we do on the trail foot. So I got 60% on my lead, 40 on my trail, and I move that weight to my trail foot early in the backswing. Okay, if I stay on my back foot, the bottom of the swing, the low point goes backwards. If I get that weight going forward, the bottom of the swing goes forward. So the number 1 reason you could be topping your irons, just not hitting them solid, could simply be weight shift, right? When the weight goes forward, the bottom of the swing goes forward, and then therefore we achieve that. Remember we talked about early, we want to come in contact with the ball as the club is traveling in a downward motion. Okay? Number 3, ball position. Number 2, in order of importance, lead arm direction. And the number 1 thing you got to look for if you're not solid contact with your irons is weight shift. So how do you practice that? Let me give you 2 drills. Okay, one of them is our own. One of them we got from the guys at Stack and Tilt. I want to give them credit for that drill when we talk about it because they are the ones where we saw it. Great guys. I said that earlier. Smart guys. You can learn a lot from them as well. So the other drill you can do that we just talked about here that I can show you is just a little step towards the target. So what we do is we just go ahead and take our regular setup. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move my alignment rod out of the way here. Okay, take your regular setup and just take your lead foot, which for me is my left foot, bring it back to my trail foot, backswing, and then go ahead and step forward and swing. So very simple. Here we go. Feet together, backswing, boom, step forward. That helps us get the momentum going towards the target. That helps you feel what it's like. Okay, now the other drill that you can do, okay, this is the one we got from the Stack and Tilt guys. I saw it. It's in their book. Okay, is to simply put your lead foot really forward, your trail foot back. See how I'm doing that? Okay, and just stay right here. Stay on your lead foot and just go ahead and hit shots. Now what that does is that starts your weight in your lead foot. It keeps it there. Which allows you to hit more down on the golf ball. That's another great drill to do. Now, we believe in the vertical line swing system that we like to shift weight. So we like this for a drill, okay, but we believe that we should be shifting our weight from our lead foot to our trail foot back to our lead foot as a way to create some power and some things like that. So those are the 3 ways that we can get that feeling, that pure feeling of the club hitting the ball, hitting the ground, taking a divot. It's the feeling we love. It's like, it's just that flush shot, holding the finish, looking up in the air and seeing that ball take off. That's what we love about the game. All right, Nick, let's get into some questions. Let's talk about some different things. We're going to talk about and answer some things for you. Now, next week we're at the same time. We're going in the morning. Okay, last week we did an evening session. This week we're morning for us. Next week we're going to be morning again. And we're going to talk about putting. We're going to talk about putting. And specifically 3 tips, 3 ideas, a drill and a couple ideas that I gave one of our students, Walt, who ended up shooting his age. He was missing a lot of 5-6 footers. Okay, was keeping him from shooting his age. He was like right there, like right on the cusp of shooting his age, but he couldn't make those short ones. We did a couple of things. We got him cleaned up with those shorties, and he shot his age. Pretty damn crazy. All right, Nick, what do we got? Let's get into some questions.
Yeah, so Roger asks, what are your thoughts on Harvey Pennick's advice on lifting the lead foot in the backswing?
Okay, who asked that?
Roger.
Okay, Roger, thank you for that question. Roger, I can tell is a student of the game, Roger. Where are you from, Roger? Put it in the chat right there. You are a student of the game because Harvey Pennick is old school, my friend. He is old school. The Little Red Book, one of the best books all time of golf. Okay. One of the things I love about that book is it's very simple. It's one of the things that Nick and Jordan and JT and I, we strive on here at US Golf TV is this game is fun, but it's also hard, but it doesn't have to be complicated. And we want to keep it simple. So the question is what do we feel about Harvey Pennick's idea about lifting the lead heel on the takeaway? I think it's awesome. I think, matter of fact, I think it's one of the best things that we can do as we become experienced golfers because we lose range of motion, we lose flexibility, we lose some strength. And by taking the lead heel, when we turn and lifting a little bit, so that's my left heel, right? I'm going to put it forward here so you guys can all kind of see it. I got my Square shoes on. I got my buddy Bob over at Square Shoes. He sends us these shoes. These things are fantastic for stability and control and things like that. But yeah, lifting that lead heel a little bit, I think is a great thing because it increases hip turn. It gets your weight on your trail foot and can really help. So, and I'll tell you this, one guy who's a pretty good golfer by the name of Jack Nicklaus, he did that. Worked pretty well for him. So I wouldn't be afraid of it. All right, Nick, what else we got?
I've got 2 people asking pretty much the same question. Cody and Vernon about the wrists, rolling the wrists. As you come into contact, do you start rolling your wrist or let it happen naturally?
Okay, Vernon asked this question, and who else?
Cody.
All right, Vernon and Cody, thank you for asking this question. Let's talk a little about wrist movement here. Let's talk about wrist movement. Okay, now let's start with this. First of all, well, all right, it's time. Nick, it's time. We're breaking out the trusty 2-iron. For those of you who come here every week, we keep the 2-iron in here, not because we can hit it. That's why we keep it in the studio. We keep it in here because it's kind of fun and it reminds us of when we could really swing the club quick and we could hit a 2-iron. But it's a great one to demonstrate this. So we're talking about wrist rotation, things like that. So here's what I would say. Is there rotation in the wrists through the golf swing? Yes, I believe that there is. Okay, I believe that there is. Now, some people rotate more than others, rotate the wrist more than others, but I think everybody rotates it to some degree. Now, I would say this, if you're going to feel rotation, I like you to feel it in the forearms, not so much the wrist. Now, granted, they kind of work together, but I would like you to feel more rotation in the forearms, okay, than necessarily the wrists. Because I think when we use the wrists a lot, they're smaller muscles, and I think it can make it a little bit more difficult for contact. Now, here's what I would say. That if the club is in a good position on the takeaway and on the downswing, then it requires less rotation. Let me say that again, and I'm going to show you what it should be and how to fix it. If the club is in a good position in the takeaway and in the downswing, then you have less rotation to do. If you feel like you have a lot of rotation or you need a lot of rotation, okay, that's because the club is in a bad spot. So typically, if you feel like you have to really rotate your forearms, okay, it's because when the club's coming into the golf ball, the face is really open. Everybody see that? You can see how this face is really open. Okay, this would be closed. This would be open. Okay, so here's what I would do. When you take the club away, and I'm going to give you a drill for this. Okay, I'm going to give everybody a drill. We're going to bring all this back together. We're explaining the process, Then we're going to do a drill to simplify. Okay? When the club works away, you want to see the club at about like this, at about a 45-degree angle. 90, 0, 45. And then when the club comes back down into the golf ball, it should be relatively close to that same position. So here's how you can work on that. Let me grab a glove. Let's say you got a Titleist glove, a TaylorMade glove, a FootJoy glove, doesn't matter, but you got a glove, right? Every glove's got some type of logo on it. Okay, this one right here says Talking Stick. That's down in Scottsdale. Great location, great resort. Okay, so here's what you can do. I got my Talking Stick logo. When I take the club away from the golf ball, I want the Talking Stick logo to be looking down at the golf ball. So here's the ball. Okay, I take it away. I want that logo looking down at the golf ball. I take it to this top. And as I rehearse it back down, I want that logo once again looking down at that golf ball. So that would be my suggestion. Rehearse it. Take it away, take it up, bring it back down, and then go ahead and hit a couple. Maybe do like a 3-setter and then go ahead and hit one. All right, Nick, what else we got? Now, for those of you who are just getting here, maybe you just got here, we talked about 3 ways to improve contact with irons. Ball position, chapter 7 of the book, The Bad Lie. Number 2 was swing direction. That's chapter 10. And then number 1 was weight shift. Weight shift and understanding all that. All right, Nick, what else we got?
Excuse me. Jason said he has issues with leaning back, more swaying back in his backswing.
Okay, so let's talk about swaying. Jason asked that. Thank you, Jason, for that question. Jason, put in the chat, where are you from? Okay, where are you from? All right, we love hearing where you're from. So swaying in the backswing. So let's talk about that because we get that question a lot. Geez, I feel like I'm swaying. So here's a sway. Everybody watch my feet. Got my square shoes on here. This is a sway. See that? This is a sway because not because I'm shifting my weight, but it's a sway because the weight that I'm shifting, let me say that again, because the weight that I'm shifting is going to the outsides of my feet. I can sway to the front. I can sway to the back. Okay, this is not a sway because the weight is staying on the inside of my foot. So the first thing you need to do is understand the difference between weight shift and a sway. When I'm set in here, and you know everybody knows this, when you're following the vertical line swing, we start with the 60 and we have the 40, so we can move that weight, we can move that pressure to the trail foot to help us load up and get some energy and get some power. The key is I got to keep that weight on the inside of my foot. Out, that's a sway. That's a turn and a pivot. See the difference? Sway, turn. This is good. This gives me power, things like that. Now, how do I do that? A couple things you can do. Number 1 is make sure your trail foot is flared a little bit. If you keep it squared up, you better have a lot of flexibility in that hip and your lower back. If you don't have that, that's me. Flare that toe a little bit. That'll make it easier to rotate and still keep the weight on the inside of the trail foot. The second thing that you can do to get the feel, you can eventually hit balls like this, but it's a little bit challenging. But the second thing you can do to get that feel is to do the reverse of the drill we were just doing. So remember the drill we were just doing, okay, where we had our feet together and we stepped towards the target? We're just going to do the reverse. Feet together, and as you swing your arms back, just step away from the target. See that? Boom, step away. Now, when you do that, you would never instinctively step and go like that because you'd twist your ankle, right? So just step, boom, little step right there, boom, and that will give you the feel, all right? Now, Nick's thrown in there a couple times. If anybody's interested in the book, we talked about it a couple times, and as I mentioned earlier, if you go in and you follow us on our social media, Twitter and Instagram, send me a direct message. Hey, I was on the live session today. I'd like a free book. I'm going to do that for 10 people. I'll actually sign them. We'll send them to you. If you're overseas, we still love you. If you're overseas, we still love you. You love golf just like we do. We won't actually be able to send you the book because the ship it overseas costs a lot of money. Okay? All right? But we will send you a digital copy. We will send you a digital copy. All right, Nick, let's get into a couple more questions. For those of you who are just getting here, put those questions in the chat. Tell us where you're from because we love knowing that. All right, Nick, what do we got?
So this one's from Mark in Colorado, who said he was new to BLS, but he's really excited with the results. Says his back is feeling better and can practice longer. His question is, I think this is one you're really going to like. I feel like I need to change the lie angle to more upright from standard. Is that a common issue?
All right. First of all, Mark, thank you for that. Thank you for those kind words. Total team effort on our side. total team effort. I'm lucky because I get to stand here and share the wisdom with you, but this is the total team effort. And that's what we're hoping to do. We're hoping that the vertical line swing, the bad lie, the video series, all that type of stuff, we just hope it helps people play golf longer and play a little bit better. Okay, and the fact that you're able to practice more, the fact that you're able to play more, and most importantly, the fact that you can play around a golf and not have your back killing you or take a bottle of Advil, that's what it's all about. Now, the question you asked there, Mark, is, do I feel like I need to change the lie angle of my clubs? And the truth of the matter is you probably do. You know, I'm not a professional club fitter. Okay, so I always hesitate in giving a lot of advice when it comes to fitting of clubs. Okay, but I will tell you this: find a good club fitter, all right, and go ahead and pay the money to do a club fitting. Because as your swing is changing, as you're learning, Mark, the vertical line swing, where your hips are turning more, your trail leg is releasing, your shoulders are turning more, your lead arm is getting a little bit higher, the angle of your golf swing is changing, and therefore the lie angle of the club could also need to adjust and change for that. So I would say, in short, thank you for those kind words. It makes us feel good. That's what we do here, help people play better golf, I hope. But in a short answer, yeah, go get a club fitting because you might need to change those lies a little bit. All right, Nick, what else we got? Look at all these great people, Nick, we got on here. This is fantastic. We got Tulsa on there. We got people from everywhere. What else we got?
Asking, are you a fan of a strong, neutral, or weak grip?
Okay, are we a fan of a strong, who asked this, Nick?
Trotsky.
All right, thank you. Put it in the chat. Where are you from, my friend? Okay, do we like a strong, a weak, or a neutral grip? And also, one of the other things that we're looking for some feedback on, because we learned from you guys and gals as well, do you like the sessions in the morning at this time, or do you like them more in the evening? Okay, and what day of the week do you like? Because we're going to be doing more of these, but we want to know when you're here and when it's best for you. All right, so let's talk about the grip. So here's the question. The short answer to your question is we prefer a neutral to strong grip for the experienced golfer. That's the short answer to your question. We prefer a neutral to strong grip. We don't like weak grips for experienced golfers. Now, there are some people who have a weak grip who play great golf. Okay, but generally speaking, the experienced golfers, we like a neutral to strong grip. So what is a neutral to strong grip? A neutral to strong grip is this. When you grip the golf club, all right, you got 4 knuckles right here on the top of your hand. Okay, when you look down on your lead hand, you want to see at least 2 knuckles. Okay, you want to see at least 1, 2 knuckles, or 3. 2 or 3 is really good or acceptable. 0 or 1 is a no-fly zone, okay? No-fly zone. 2 or 3 is acceptable. I don't like 4. I don't like super strong. That's not good either. But in a nutshell, we like a neutral grip, which is 2 knuckles, or a strong grip, which is 3 knuckles. That would be the best way to answer that question. So, man, look at this, Nick. We got people still jumping on. If you're just getting here, logging on, tell us where you're from. Put it in the chat right there. Nick, what else we got? Let's answer a couple more questions.
I'm hopefully saying this right, are not.
Okay.
It says, your advice is always to start on the left leg. When starting the backswing, will my position still be on the left leg?
Okay, really good question. So the question there is, one of the core concepts of the vertical line swing is in the setup, we like the 60-40. We like the 60-40. Let's talk a little bit about why that is, okay, and why that's important, all right? So golf is rhythm, tempo, momentum, cadence, right? We all know those feelings, right? When you're like swinging, and you're just, man, your tempo and your rhythm feels really good that day, all right? Now, one of the things that I will tell you on a side note is that when you go to the driving range, and, you know, let's say there's 30 spots in the driving range, and you kind of grab your bucket of balls. We've all done this, right? You put your token in the machine. Well, first of all, when you put the bucket underneath and then put the token in, we've all made that mistake, right? And have you ever made that mistake? You put the token in, and then this thing pops, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then boom, the balls go flying on the concrete all over. So put the bucket underneath, right? We put the token in, the balls come out. You grab your balls, you're walking, and you're looking out of the driving range, okay? This is going to answer your question. I may wonder where I'm going with this, but you got your bucket of balls, you got your golf bag, you're walking, and you look out, and there's 30 spots on the driving range, and there's maybe 10 people hitting golf balls. You got a guy over here who's like, he's got a 6-pack of beer, and he's sweating, and he's just hitting drivers, okay? And then you got somebody maybe in the middle who you can tell has never played golf, and they got a significant other, usually a husband, who's overcoaching the poor young gal or their wife or whatever, right? Okay, I'm just making this up. And then over here on the right, you got this person in there. They got an alignment rod down. You can see maybe they're got a camera set up, and you can see they're making little practice swings, and you watch them hit a shot, and they got this beautiful rhythm and tempo, right? So where do you set up at? Where do you go? Where do you put your bucket down at? I'm going over to the right, where that person's at. Because believe it or not, rhythm and tempo is like another sense. It's like when you're around it, you just naturally start to do it and pick up on it. So the first advice I would give you on that, I'm going to get to the specifics of your question, is when you go to the driving range, just take awareness of like who's out there and go next to people who got a good rhythm and a good tempo and are swinging the club well, and organically and naturally, you'll start seeing some progress in your game. Now, why do we like the 60-40? Why is it one of the cornerstones of the vertical line swing? Well, because the shifting of weight from side to side is part of every athletic movement. Throwing a baseball, throwing a football, hitting a tennis ball, okay, throwing a frisbee, anything that we do in life revolves around shifting of weight from side to side, because it's one of the ways that we create power, and it's one of the ways that we improve our tempo and rhythm. So if we start with a little bit more weight on our lead foot, then I have the ability to move that weight towards my trail foot. If I start with the vast majority of the weight on my trail foot, I got nothing to shift. I got nowhere to go. I got nothing to kind of kickstart me and get my rhythm going. So the short answer to your question is get the 60-40, bump it to the trail foot, turn the hips. That will improve your length of the swing. It'll improve your rhythm, and it'll definitely give you more distance and things like that. All right, Nick, let's get into another question here. We got just a couple more now. Just before I forget, next week we're going at the same time. We're going at the same time, and we're going to talk about putting. We're going to talk about putting, and I'm going to specifically talk about a lesson that I gave one of our students, Walt, one of our favorite guys. Played basketball in college, very athletic, 80 years old, loves golf, loves to practice, and how he was so close to shooting his age, but he was missing these 4, 5, 6 footers, 2 or 3 around, and so he was just right there but couldn't get over the hurdle. And we gave him a couple tips, a specific drill and a couple things, and boom, that put him over the edge. And that's what we're going to talk about next week. So, all right, Nick, what else we got?
Stephen says, why do I hit the ball on the toe of the iron?
Okay, so the question is why do I hit a lot of shots on the toe? All right, so it could be a variety of things. So first of all, the toe of the club, as you know, I'm sure you all know this, but the toe is out here. This is the toe, of course, sweet spot, and then the heel. All right, so this is the toe. Now, it could be a variety of things, but typically, I see it's because the weight is staying on the back foot too much, okay? So let's say here's my golf ball. I'm getting ready to set up and hit it. Here we go. I make the backswing, and if my weight stays on my back foot, okay, that can cause the club to go out, okay, and cause the club to swipe across the golf ball this way, and I'd be more prone to hitting off the toe. So the first place that I would look is make sure you're getting your weight forward. Now, how do you know if you're getting your weight forward? Well, pretty simple. When you finish your swing, knees should touch. When you finish your swing, boom, knees touch. If your knees are touching, your weight's forward, and you're in a good spot. All right? So, all right, Nick, let's get into one more question. And before we're done here, Nick, go ahead and throw it in the chat again, where they can find the book, okay? If you like the book, if you like the stuff, all the things we're talking about, we cover all this in our vertical line swing. It's in the book, The Bad Lie. Also, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. If you send me a direct message, the first 10 people, I will go ahead and autograph a book, sign a book, and we'll send it to you. If you're overseas, we still love you. We're still going to take care of you, but it's just going to be a digital copy because it costs a lot of money right now to ship books over the ocean. And so what we can do is we can send you a digital copy. All right, Nick, what else we got?
So Jay-Z Mouse says, I'm older and back is not as flexible. When I try the drill, my head tends to move and I hit it thin. Do you have any drills? Okay, so this is a really common one. Okay, thank you. So the question is there, hey, I don't have as much flexibility as I used to have. And when I try to rotate, in order to rotate, I have to come up and out of posture because I don't have that flexibility and my head moves.
Okay, so a couple things that we can do to help with that. Okay, a couple things we can do. Number one is make sure your toes are flared out. Okay, so if we might suggest in the system maybe like a 20-degree toe flare, maybe you go 30. Go 30. See what happens. Should help your range of motion a little bit. Should help you free up a little bit. Number two that we can do, okay, is make sure that you're taking your trail leg and make sure your trail leg is releasing. Meaning make sure it's going from, let's say it's got 30 degrees of bend right now. And as I work towards the top, it has maybe 15 degrees of bend. Started with 30, went to 15. Okay, that would be another thing that you could do. So toes out, let the trail leg release a little bit. Two other things that you can do. Okay, matter of fact, we did this a little bit with Gary. We talked about Gary earlier. Okay, two other things that you could try is move the ball back in the stance a little bit. Move the ball back in the stance a little bit. Believe it or not, that kind of can help with that. Okay, and then also close the stance. Okay, so if my stance is nice and square, let me get an alignment rod out here again. Let's say my stance is nice and square. Here's my target line. Okay, here's my golf ball. This could help for a lot of you if you're struggling with contact. Okay, this doesn't have to be just if you lack flexibility. So just take the ball and move it a little bit back in your stance. And now you know where the ball position is supposed to be. If you don't know, go back and watch the beginning of the video because we talked about it. Okay, move the ball back a little bit and then take your stance and close it. So I'm going to close my stance, move the ball back, flare my toes a little bit, and that actually, believe it or not, can allow you to still make a pretty good turn with not much flexibility. So today we talked about contact. How do we hit the ball? And then how do we hit the ground? Three things. Number three, ball position. Okay. Number two, swing direction. And the number one thing was weight shift. And we cover all that in the book. So always remember this. All right. You don't have to swing like a tour pro in order to play great golf.